Hi there, thanks for joining. We are going to have a wonderful session with my good friend Jessica Ajoux. And if you don't know Jessica Ajoux by now, I think you probably do if you're in the world of dog agility. You sure will after this interview. Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
So, Jessica, you are a trainer, you have your own facility, you teach, you judge. What is it that you haven't done in the sports of dog agility? You've done it all. Um, uh,
Well, it certainly feels that way, but I've been doing it for a while. So, some things I don't judge anymore currently, but I did judge back at the beginning, and it was all just kind of steps along the way that made sense for my life, given that I was becoming more and more obsessed with agility.
I think that's probably the right word for you. I've known you a long time, but I have to ask, how long have you been doing dog agility?
So, my very first competition, because I found my very first ribbon, had the number 2000 on it. So, that's at least now
Wow.
25 years. And I'm going to assume that I had to have been training the dog a little bit before 2000. So, it's like somewhere between 99 and 2000 that I've been doing agility. And I started with my very first dog was named Mocha, and my family adopted her from the like SPCA that was somewhat local to us. And I had seen agility on TV and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to do that!" And it just never really stopped. I was actually in high school as a junior handler when I started, and kind of just did not stop, even though I went off to college, moved across the country, and then set out on my way. But it's always been involved in agility.
So you started then very young. Um, so what got you into sports? It's literally seeing it on TV. Wow.
Well, I
Go
had
ahead.
been as a young girl, I had ridden horses. Like actually, my family lived in France when I was growing up, and so there was a lot of accessibility to horseback riding and very traditional. Did all of that, and then when we moved back to the States, it was less conducive to be continuing to ride horses. And I was into to dogs, but I was like into the training side. So getting involved in like or teaching dogs to do things. We actually had a pet corgi when we lived in France, and it turns out I was doing agility with her in my backyard because I set up jumps for her to go through and all that stuff. And that was before I even knew the sport existed. And so when we got Mocha, I had gotten into like dog training classes and those type of thing. Literally went to PetSmart and trained her there. And then one time I saw just it was an advertisement. I don't even know like who it was for. It was some like telemarketing thing for this guy with his training, but they did a clip on agility. And I just remember seeing it like the weaves and the jumps. And I'm not joking. It was like instant. I was like, I'm going to do that. And I'm still doing it to this day.
And that you have done. I think what's fun for me, I remember when you and I were at the EO in France, actually, we had a good time back then.
Yeah.
We had it was a fun event. And we
That was
don't
a great
speak
event.
French.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting, what I've always noticed about you is the passion of dog agility, without a doubt. But I think it's the mixture of your competitiveness, which you have. You're very competitive, but also a sober reality to where your abilities were in relation to the requirements for international to compete and to succeed in international. And I always remember in talking to you how there was such a strong determination, realizing you knew you were a good competitor already in the States, but you knew that to compete internationally, there was just kind of that gap to work on. And I remember that you were so determined in doing that. And I think, and I'm gonna let you talk about that because I think there's been a tremendous, I mean, your training and your skills, I mean, I've gone like catapulted, but there was a very strong determination to get there. So talk to me about the US. How's the dog sport agility has evolved? Because it's definitely 5 years ago, it wasn't what it is today.
Yeah. So I think well, the beauty of what we have in the United States is it feels that nowadays there's agility for everybody. So no matter what your goal is to be, whether it's to go and compete on the world stage or have fun with your very active pet dog that you just need to go do. I mean, that's how we all started. Oh, it'll just be for fun. Yeah. Okay. That lasted like 6 months before you're at the dog show. And I was enjoying competing. So I've always, like you said, I've been competitive. I used to play water polo and swimming, and when that chapter closed, agility opened forward, and took all that energy into it. And what I think is just, that, like, why are we competing? Well, to learn, to grow, for the fun of it, to continue pushing. And while I had like not achieved all the goals in the United States, like winning nationals or that type of thing, I could see, like, we wanted to get to the world stage and try. And it was difficult. It was super difficult. And actually, if any, you should mention the EO in France, because I would call that a turning point, actually, of a lot of our, like, very directed efforts then to get better at this type of agility. Because I had a dog who was quite lovely, famous, and she didn't quite win AKC nationals, but I got zero point 0.1 away from it one year and was really doing quite great. And I ran two clean runs at that EO, and I was like used to running clean and winning because that's how it kind of went. She was quite fast. Yeah, I got like 44th and like 50th or something like that. And I was like, what? Like, that was the best I could do. And it was like 44th, which is not nothing out of 400,
Right.
but you got to be, at that point, you had to be like top 30 to make it to the finals. Now it's like top 18 or something. So, it was close, but not close. And what I could see is that my best was like not good enough in that moment. And I mean, I don't mean like bad that I was doing it, just was it was very, very difficult for me to do that. And I could see other countries just like like, and we were sitting ringside and watched the German team in a team, it was team jumpers. And I ran that course clean, but it like took so much effort and so much trying, and I didn't even do it the most efficient. Now when I go back and look at the video, I'm like, okay, well, that's why you got 40th, but it was the best I knew at the time. And I watched them just like one, two, three, four, they all just ran it clean, and they looked like they didn't even try. And I'm
Hmm.
like, what? So they looked to me like the way I could do some of our local competitions. Like if I missed a walkthrough at a local competition, I probably could still do the course because I was familiar with it and I could do it. But that was just not how it felt overseas. So there have been a lot of efforts of people getting together, actively training for that type of agility, and with more opportunities nowadays with different organizations holding different versions of agility competitions, we're we're actually becoming quite good. And that's being reflected even at like the tryouts now. Like we're not just surviving with one clean run, we're getting people running multiple clean, and like all the way down to 15th is within a second or something like that at our tryouts. So it's really cool. And I think especially within the last 5 years, that version of agility has really developed because we've been practicing for 5 years, and now we're kind of seeing more and more results.
Well, results where you guys are winning internationally. So that's the part that's like pretty incredible. So that kind of leads into you and I are going to be together in just a short few weeks here with the One TDC Invitational. And for us, from a company standpoint, we pride ourselves having a top-notch supplement for oral health and of course for the joints and stamina. But talk to me because you had the opportunity of going to the if I can say it, the inaugural one TD last year. How was that? What was your experience there? How was because a lot of people, many people went, they have their feedback, and a lot of people didn't go, and many are going this year. So, what should we expect? What was your experience for the inaugural one that we had?
Well, I'll tell you my feelings after the event and then my feelings before. So honestly, I think everyone who were like, well, I'm not going to go, they felt sad that they didn't go because it turned out really cool. Like I really enjoyed it. I mean, it went well for me too, but it was fun. It was cool. It was accessible because the way it was set up, you could actually, without too much difficulty, see a lot of your different friends running in different groups, which doesn't happen at the US Open because it's just much more spread out. And going into it, I was a little poopy because there was just a lot of things going on. It was in Chicago. We had a litter of puppies.
That's
And
right.
I was just like, oh, I don't know that I want to do this and drive there. And it's going to be cold and it's going to be long hours because they had published the schedule. And like, I love agility, but don't love agility for 12 hours a day, multiple days in a row, like the love fades a little bit. So we were all daunted by the schedule. But anyway, we went and they were very efficient and very well run event, as often is with the UKI big events. It's really nice because they were ahead of schedule, efficient, well run. And when we actually got there, I felt excited because it
Mhm.
has been a while that I have gone to a brand new event that I don't know what to expect, because often like the tryouts are in the same buildings, US Open is in the same place, like AKC Nationals will move around, but like I've been to Georgia, I've been to Tulsa, I've been to the different places, but
Right.
this was like a brand new place. And I was like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know where I'm going to walk in the ring. I don't know what it's going to look like. And that was a little like nerve wracking, but in a kind of an exciting way. And I felt, I was like, oh, this is cool. And I really enjoyed everything about it, especially how efficiently they ran it, which is not to say, right? Like it's not a small thing because it's a big undertaking to run a big competition like that.
Yeah, they have a good team. And
Yeah.
turf was nice, location was nice. You're right, it's a little remote in Chicago. It was
Yeah, but it's still accessible.
yeah.
I was being a big poop. I will say
Yeah.
it, but I was happy that we went. I was excited to go, and strangely, once I got there, I was like, I think I've been here before because
Mhm.
I think that facility. I dug up the video because I had just a distinct like memory of red on the turf, and I pulled up a video actually of Streak. I don't even know what year, but at some regional event, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the place. But I could not have told you that it was the place before I got there.
Yeah,
So not brand new, but new enough that I couldn't remember.
so what are you looking forward to this year as we're going to go to the second year of the 1TDC Invitational?
So what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the competition. I think it's the event that the courses are probably like the most challenging and difficult, even more so than at the US Open. So like high level difficulty courses and lots of people competing on them. So the more people that there are aspiring for that level of competition, just the more you have to do well to go, and you can kind of see where you stack up against. I'm running two dogs, Power in 24, and then Lou in 20, and I don't know, goals wise, I would like to like have more consistent results with Power because that's still something that we're working on. Lou, I'd like to see if I could do it again. Last year, I was laser focused at this event with her because I was very much gunning for that WAO win on spot. I was like, this is what I want. I want all the events at WAO, blah, blah, blah. And I did really well in the pentathlon, which is like a newer thing for us because she's we've been successful on like one run or hitting it big on a few here and there, but like to actually hold it together for 5 runs, and it was I had one bar in round 4, but still was like seated at the top.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh my God, I need one more run and I need to just not drop the ball. And it was such a good opportunity to practice like that consistency across because all the events were leading up to that. And I managed not to drop the ball, but it was stressful and it was good practice though. I enjoyed that side of it.
No, you did more than great. I mean, you guys were rocking it at 1TDC Invitational. It's going to be fun to see you again this year. You know, I have to tell you one thing I really enjoy about you, about agility. I know obviously you're a competitor and you want to win internationally, and you have, but you really have a heart for the sport. And you and I have talked about this offline as well. And I really admire that because I think in the steps that you take, it's not just about you and your level of competition, which of course is a focus, but you really also worry about the rest of the gang in the US that can benefit from the sport. And one of the things that you and I talked about is also the importance of the youth in is getting more like yourself. You got to see it on TV, you're excited, you're into the
Yeah.
horses. I'd love your take and thought, and that's probably going to be an evolving, conversation for the future as well, is what can we do to bring more of the youth into this incredible sport? It's still, I think, a very unknown sport in the US. What's your thought?
Um, so I'd say first in general, like I love agility so much and I like dogs and I like dog training, but I just happen to really enjoy doing agility and I see the joy it brings everybody, and that's why I'm so just so into it. I think it's just so fun. As far as with the juniors, it's an interesting question because when I go overseas to Europe, there's a lot more people with kids all around who are then coming to the dog shows, who are doing it with the dogs and such. And there's a lot of kids doing horse stuff, so you'd think it'd be able to do it here. And I think the hardest thing, like even for me as a trainer teaching a kid getting into agility, is in agility we're often teaching the dog at the same time as we're teaching the handler, or you are an experienced handler and you're just teaching your next dog. But I think that
Right.
can be a very daunting task. So I think a very good way to bring in more youth would be for like kids to have access to trained agility dogs so that they could go and just focus on the agility part, not so much teaching the dog to come, teaching them not to sniff, teaching like all the obstacles,
Mhm.
which is an important thing. But you don't put children on untrained horses; they're on very stable like horses. And so I think if there was access to that, that would be a really good thing. I know it happens. It just I think it's hard. And like I think of me, I have a couple dogs who are a little bit older who maybe they would be good for kids, but I'll say this, the problem I have is I don't want them jumping as high
Mhm.
as they're still made to jump. So if I have a large dog who at WAO is supposed to jump 24 and I give him to a junior handler, like the dog is probably already a little bit older. I don't necessarily want him jumping 24-inch. So I think if they had programs where the junior handlers could jump lower with measured dogs, that would make the number of available trained dogs increase because people, or at least for me, I would be less hesitant to hand a dog over if I knew that then he wasn't jumping so high, because that's at least for large dogs and taking it from a large dog perspective. Because
Uh,
these are our babies. These aren't just like living outside in a kennel. There are babies, and so for me to hand him over, one, it shows a lot of trust in the junior handler, but I also then don't want them to be overworked or overtaxed because then that's not
right.
fair to them either.
Now that's a really good point. Actually, you've invited me before because I've watched, taken a lot of pictures of you guys, but I've never actually done dog agility. And I remember you did tell me if you do it, we'll start you exactly what you said. So I guess I'll be that junior.
There you go.
We're with an experienced dog, so that you can learn from that experienced dog versus you trying to figure it out. To your point,
Yeah, it's too complicated and too hard to learn
yeah,
all of that at one time. And people, not just kids, kind of want like it should be rewarding a little bit quickly.
right.
And if it's too much of a struggle, they're going to end up quitting and doing something a little easier.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really valid point. Who knows? Maybe we need to create a program like this. So whoever's listening to this, all the different organizations, listen to Jessica. I think that's really good advice. Experienced dogs with being new into the sport.
Yeah.
Jessica, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, I really, really love what you have done and how you've evolved with the sport and what you've brought to the US and making us look good internationally as well. So I look forward to see you at the One TDC Invitational very shortly.
Thank you so much. We're always trying, that's for sure.
See you soon.
See ya.